It's really easy to point the finger and blame other people for the problems that you see. I guess it comes down to how much burden should be on the consumer versus how much burden should be on the companies that are marketing things a certain way.
Depending on who you are and where you are in your life, anybody can change. I'm just the way I am.
All right.
And you're just the way you are.
Today, I'm interviewing people about this quote: be the change you want to see in the world.
The quote you're saying is just striving to be a better person. Striving to see the world differently than some other people do, and just being who you are inside and out.
It's really easy to point the finger and blame other people for the problems that you see, but when you look at life from a place of empowerment, you realize that there's so much that you can do on a daily basis to just be a positive change, and I think that's what the quote is really about.
Do you think individuals have the power to change the world?
Absolutely. Depending on who you are and where you are in your life, anybody can change.
One of the biggest problems I see in the world is the way that humans treat animals. What do you think about our treatment of animals in society?
I mean, I know how I feel about how I treat animals. I believe that, every living creature has just as much a right to be here as I do. So I believe in, being respectful of that.
Hunting and fishing is what I grew up doing, so that's just the way I live. Now, everybody has their own personal opinions on it, and I'm not going to be one to sit here and judge anybody for sure. But
Yeah, and I'm not trying to judge anyone, by the way.
For sure. Yeah, of course. But that's just where I come from. That's just what I enjoy doing it. I enjoy providing. But as far as we're going domestic animal wise, yeah, I don't believe in any of that. As far as hurting other animals in that situation, and that may be contradicting what I just said, but that's just the way I feel.
So I'm curious, we kind of talked about dogs. What about pigs, chickens, cows? Do animals like that? Do you think that they are individuals with emotions as well?
I don't have a ton of experience with those animals. I did grow up on sort of a farm, a hobby farm. I remember pigs in particular being very smart. They can escape anything. You can, try to keep them enclosed for their own safety and they will figure out a way to escape. But yeah, I think life in and of itself is valuable. So I'm sure that, to a certain degree, animals like that also have personalities.
So basically, domestic animals have more worth of life because we have relationships with them?
I'd say so, in my own opinion. But I'm not saying the other ones don't either. It's just, people have been doing it for thousands of years as far as, collecting food for their tribes or, anything. Yeah. So that's where I'm going with that one.
So I'm curious, do you eat animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, things like that? And, once again, no judgment. I'm not trying to shame you.
I do.
Yeah. So I'm curious, do you think there's any abuse or harm caused to these animals on these farms?
We've all seen, the documentaries and the videos about things like that. In order for there to be, footage of these things happening, I guess it must be happening. I do try to, be careful about what I select at the grocery store in terms of what meat products I select. But, I'll be honest, when I go to a restaurant, I'm not asking, where did this meat product come from?
People have been doing it for thousands of years. You're right. Absolutely. Since the beginning of humanity, people have been killing animals. Do you think that the longevity of an action determines the morality of an action? For example, if we've always done something, does that mean we should continue?
That's a difficult question, but in a way, I would agree with you, but then again, there's other things, that go, not just talking about animals or anything, that we've been doing for so long that we probably shouldn't keep on, doing. But in that situation, it's hard to say, but I would almost agree with what you said.
So you go to the grocery store and the labels say local and humane and things like that. Do you think that you can trust those?
Yes. For the most part, as much as I can trust any other label.
Would you be open to watching some footage right now of what goes on at those types of farms? No?
In my own opinion, I don't think that should be done that way.
Yeah.
Now, given they could probably do something else different than that, slamming them against the ground, I don't necessarily believe that. Yeah. That is probably not right.
If you don't want to watch it, is it fair to pay for the animals to have to go through it?
No. It's not fair, but I guess it comes down to, how much burden should be on the consumer versus how much burden should be on the companies that are marketing things a certain way.
Yeah, I think we definitely need accountability in both areas, right? And that's kind of the problem that we're in right now, is that there's a huge difference between what these companies are marketing and what people think they're buying. And that's why, I don't want to judge people or anything, because I spent years being like, oh, there's happy cows on the package, that they must just hang out in a field, right? And then I learned more about the industry, and I learned that 99% of animal products in the US come from factory farms. I also learned that these corporations are paying politicians to keep these things secret, to keep it hidden from the public, to keep the laws on their side. Does that look humane?
No, and that is not when I went to school for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That is not what I was shown.
Do you think we need to be consuming these products, or could we live without them and thrive?
Well, I don't know that, okay. Could I personally live without these products? Yes, because I can afford to buy things that will provide protein for me and the, sustenance that animal products provide that our human bodies just need. I don't necessarily know. I just genuinely don't know if everyone can afford to get all of the nutrients that they need from plant protein. I would be, interested to know if that's possible.
We got to have some kind of, meat in our diet, in my opinion.
How confident are you about that? If on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're sure that we have to have some animal products in our diet, where would you put yourself?
I'd put me personally, I'd put myself at a 10.
You mean you think everyone really needs animal products, or you mean you personally need them?
Personally, I enjoy it.
Yeah, a lot of people think that going vegan or just getting plant-based protein is more expensive, but it's actually around 30% cheaper in developed countries. Because you go to the grocery store, the cheapest things are beans, rice, potatoes, peanut butter, all that stuff is super cheap. But yeah, I kind of like the way you started with that, which is I have the ability, but maybe not everyone else does. And I think that's true for a lot of things. During COVID, not everyone in the world can wash their hands, right? But I can wash my hands, so I should. I guess maybe we should separate necessity from enjoyment, because I think enjoyment is important, absolutely. Right. We haven't always known as much about nutrition as we do now. We're still learning a ton about nutrition. But the largest nutritionist societies have said that plant-based diet is, nutritionally adequate for all stages of life, including pregnancy. That's in, all populations. Have you heard of Game Changers? The documentary. It's basically a bunch of NFL players, and they stop eating animals and notice that they actually thrive a little bit more. Kind of the main reasons that I consumed these products was for taste and convenience. Is that true for you?
Oh, sure. There's meats that I love. I love sausage. I love bacon. Chicken is a staple for dinner.
Do you think that taste can justify taking an animal's life, or putting them through the kind of stuff that we saw in that video?
Personally, yeah. I don't see a problem in it. It's just the way I'm just going to go off the way I grew up and the way I am. I don't see a problem in it, no.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to say this stuff doesn't taste really good, right? But I'm curious if you've tried the alternative products, you mentioned sausage. Impossible Sausage came out this year, and it's so good. There was actually this interview. He was a self-proclaimed sausage expert, and they gave him 2 vegan sausages and said that one was meat, and he ate both and was like, this is definitely meat. It tastes exactly like the sausage I had for breakfast. And then it was actually vegan.
The second one is clearly the real sausage. I could taste the meat in it. Excuse me. It was luscious and lovely. Tasted a bit like the one I had this morning. This is the winner.
If you say taste can justify taking an animal's life, taste is a sense, right?
Yeah.
Like sight, smell, sound.
Right.
What you're saying there is that sensory pleasure can justify violence toward innocent animals. Do you think that is logically sound?
I don't think they're innocent. In my opinion, animals don't have feelings.
Oh, they don't have feelings?
I don't believe that, no.
Okay. I'm curious what makes you believe that?
Well, you see, domestic animals, they grow attached over time, right? They grow attached over time. Your dogs, your cats, they appreciate what you do for them and stuff. A wild animal, they could care less.
We kind of live in a time in the world where it's easy to, like we talked at the beginning, to sit back and just kind of wait for other people to change the world. You mentioned at the beginning that you don't think that that's good. Would you rather live in a world where all animals are treated with respect?
Yes.
Do you think being vegan would be closer to that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think humans are animals?
I believe that they were at one point, yeah.
Are we not animals anymore?
I mean, I believe that in a sense we probably are.
I'll give you some information if you want to look more into animal sentience and stuff, because just because someone has been domesticated, that doesn't put like an inherent difference in how they experience the world. I know that you've been raised up thinking a certain way, and and I know it's hard to break from the culture we're in and things like that. But I just want to have you maybe think about what the world would be like if people never challenged how the status quo is. If you could live a life where you intentionally harmed humans, harmed animals, or neither, what would you choose?
Oh, of course, neither.
Do you think that if you pay for animals to be harmed, is that in line with that choice?
I guess I'm struggling with this idea that I'm paying for animals to be harmed. I'm not convinced of it. I think I need to think about it more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can definitely give you resources in that. I thought the same thing. I was like, first of all, I don't know how much individuals can change in regard to this. I found out that every person going vegan saves on average 100 to 200 animals per year. So that was compelling to me. Also, if you look at like supply chain stuff, they're very advanced. So companies are aware of this. The plant-based sector is the fastest growing sector right now. So like going to the grocery store now compared to 10 years ago, there's tons of vegan options. There's, there used to only be cow's milk. Now there's soy milk, there's oat milk, there's almond milk, Impossible sausage, all this stuff. So to me, that signifies that my change does matter. But obviously, I don't want you to just take my word for anything. I want you to do your own research.
I'm just the way I am,
All right.
and you're just the way you are, and I'm not gonna judge you for it. And, I respect everybody's side of the story of it, and in the end, I just want everybody to be happy with whatever they're doing.
Sure. I feel the same, except I also want animals not to be harmed. But I really appreciate you. And just tying this back to the beginning, we talked about change and how that's good. So, and I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. So thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.
If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. Special thanks to my morally superior patrons, Amy, Andy, Deepak, and Rebecca.